How much do dentists make? How much does a new dentist make? What are the different business models in dentistry? I'm Dr. Andrew Wildman, and in today's video, we're going to exactly break that down for you. So according to the American Dental Association, as of 2023, the average dentist makes $218,000 a year. Now, this stat is all dentists. So this is not going to apply to new dentists, and more experienced dentists and practice owners will be making a lot more. So what's a realistic starting salary for someone who is going to work straight out of dental school or even straight out of a general practice residency? I would say $150,000 is a fair number to have in your mind, right? You have to understand, when you come right out of school, you still have a lot to learn, right? You're not going to come out the gate making all this money unless you're in a situation where your dad owned a successful practice and he's just bringing you in, he's going to show you the ropes, but this is far and few, and it'd be a disservice to you guys to, I think, even consider that option. So $150,000, I would say, is a goal you should have coming right out of school. If you're getting less than that, then something's off. So you may or may not know this, but dentists mostly get paid on a percentage of what they're able to produce, right? So what is that? That basically means the amount of treatment patients pay to get done and that you do with your two hands or one hand. I don't know, there may be some one-handed dentists out there, don't want to leave you out, but basically you get a percentage. The standard market rate is anywhere from 30 to 35%. Now, in certain situations in corporate offices, they give you a day rate and then you may get small monthly bonus depending on how successful that practice was doing. I'll talk about that more later. So you can imagine that because you're getting paid a percentage of whatever you're able to produce, that it's gonna really depend not just on you, but the office you're in, their ability to attract new patients, your ability to retain them, your staff that you work with, are they able to help you provide a good experience to the patient? And then your front desk, which is the administrative end, right? Are they properly billing things out? Are they, hospitable when patients come into the door? So your pay is going to really depend on different factors. And that's why I think it's not fair to just tell you guys one number, because it's really going to depend. And I know dentists making all kinds of different money based on their situation. So with that being said, let's just cover, I think, the three overarching paths that there are in dentistry, right? So the first one is going to be the private practice associate. So this is someone who is working at a practice where it's only one practice and it's owned by a sole doctor or doctor and a partner, but it's a lot smaller, usually slower paced, maybe more upscale, right? In the technology they're using, more intimate experience. Patients usually get a lot more time with the doctor, and most likely they're charging fee for service or there's private insurance involved. So in these situations, as an associate coming straight out of school, I would say you can make 120 up to 180, maybe 200,000 if it's a really well-oiled, business. I'd say once you get 3 to 5 years experience in this situation, you can make anywhere from 200 to 300,000. And usually those who have 5 or more years aren't staying in this situation. They're usually going on to ownership at that point. So the second option is the DSO, which is a dental service organization, or some of you may refer to as corporate dentistry. Now, here, there are also different types of organizations. A lot of people just think of the big ones like Aspen, Heartland. I did have my first position at Aspen Dental, so I can give you a whole different video on my experience there. But in these situations, because there's private equity involved, there's a lot more money that these institutions have behind them. You usually get a guaranteed daily rate, but it's not always just straight a percentage of what you produce. Usually it's a daily rate and a small percentage of what that office is able to produce that month. So you get your basic pay, almost like a salary, and then you're getting like these monthly bonuses that depend on how well that practice did that month. So in these systems, right out of school, a new dentist, I think, could make anywhere from 150,000 to 250,000, depending on the mentor there and depending on how busy the practice is. Now, in these situations, you are going to be seeing a lot of patients. So there's no doubt about that. The volume is going to be a lot higher than the small mom and pop practice. And in my opinion, I think this is a great place for dentists to start, get experience, especially if you are going to be a general dentist, right? But, the larger Aspens are more focused on surgical procedures, so you're kind of limited to that. However, you can also work for smaller DSOs, right? The DSO I work for is only 200 offices versus the 1,000 at Aspen. And there's smaller DSOs, right? There's some that, as a practice owner who wants to have 2 or 3 or 4 locations, that's considered a DSO, right? So in these situations, I think is the sweet spot, right? Because you still have a private practice feel, right? It's not a franchise. It doesn't have, you're not just a number, but at the same time, you're able to get compensated more like the private practice associate, where it's just a percentage of what you're able to produce, 30 to 33%. So in these situations, you can make, I would say, 200,000 up to 300 plus thousand. Me currently, I am making over 450,000, which I'll tell you what I'm doing different later and things that you should really take notes on. So I'll get to that. The last path is ownership. Now, this is going to be way more dependent on you, right? Because you're running everything. You're the end all be all in the practice. Average practice owner takes home about $250,000 in annual salary, but there's dentists who make upwards of millions of dollars. So that is definitely, something to think about. Now, in all of these paths I mentioned, income is going to be based more on your leadership systems and the communication that you can have with your patients, which leads me to, how did I break out of the average, right? How did I, in only practicing dentistry for 2 years, how was I able to make over 420,000, which is more than some oral surgeons make? So the first thing I did was change my mindset. I stopped thinking about me and what I want to make, and I started to focus my energy onto providing my patients the best experience and my staff having a great experience working with me and properly leading them. So I took ownership, right? I started to act like I owned the practice. So I was on every chart, going through every chart, seeing what was being left on the table, welcoming every patient warmly, properly communicating to them, educating them on what's going on in their mouths, right? And empowering them and really mastering human psychology and how to quickly build rapport with patients, which is the most important thing, right? Patients, if they like you, they're going to come see you and spend money. So that was the first thing I did, right? Doing that got me to produce the $100,000 a month in production, which is a huge milestone in dentistry, right? When you're able to produce over 100,000, it's kind of like, it's a club, right? Once you're in this club, you are in the upper echelons of general dentists, right? So by doing the things I just mentioned, that got me to the $100,000 a month. Now, being that I was in a DSO where we have 200 doctors, me being able to perform in the top 10%, top 5% of doctors, you can imagine gives me leverage, right? Because what is private equity and the corporation trying to do? They're trying to make money. So it's almost like being in a professional league, like the NBA or something. It's like, if you're able to perform in the top 5% of all the NBA players and be like a LeBron or be like a Steph Curry, you're gonna get more perks, right? You're gonna have more leverage in your contracts. And that's exactly what I did. As soon as I made $100,000 in production a month, and I was providing a great patient experience, meaning I was getting 5-star reviews, management was talking highly of me, everyone liked being around me and my name was good, I was able to negotiate my contract from being collections to production. And I was able to even get opportunities offered to me to be the director of the practice, right? Now I'm regional director and I'm also on the clinical advisory board. So it's everything except the dentistry that got me to get to that point, right? And I'm still going. I still have things that I want to achieve. And, as a regional dental director, I work with a lot of dentists in my region and I coach them. So if you found this video valuable, I hope you enjoyed. You could click the link down below and get my new dentist playbook, which talks about more of these things. It's just something to get your mind working. You could also join my private school community where, you could kind of DM me and talk to me directly. And you can also hit the scheduling link to book a one-on-one coaching call with me. I talk to new dentists that are soon to be, right? Dental students in their 3rd and 4th year, even pre-dental students, just how to navigate your first year in practice, first 2 years, and how to maximize your income. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like, comment, and let me know what you guys want to see in the next video. Thanks, peace.